We love this upside down yogurt cake. Let me show you how to make it. It's very easy. In the recipe below, I will show you how to use fresh, frozen, or canned fruit. In the video, I am going to show you how to use home canned fruit. So this is tart cherries that I canned last year. I'm going to pour this into a saucepan, juice and all. To this, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of cornstarch. This is to thicken the juice so it doesn't get too runny on the cake. I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to put this on low heat. Now I did make this into a cherry lime fruit topping for this cake. So I'm going to take the zest of one lime and the juice of this lime. I am just adding it straight to the cherries. Then I'm going to let the cherry and lime mixture sit on low heat for about 5 to 10 minutes up until I can realize that it has thickened a bit. You don't need to reduce this down at all, but you do need it a little bit thicker because it'll work a lot better in the end. Now in the recipe link that I give you, I go over how to use fresh fruit, frozen fruit, and even how you can just slightly cook fresh or frozen fruit. So you don't have to use canned fruit, even though this is a fantastic way to use up all your canned fruit that you have put up. It should look a little something like this, not too thick, but not too thin either. Go ahead and let this cool down just slightly, because then we are going to take our cake pan. We are going to cut a piece of parchment paper to the shape of the cake pan. I just tear a piece off and fold it into almost like you're making a crafty snowflake. You know how you do that with kids, but you just keep folding it until you get like a pointed edge, and then you just measure the cake pan and you cut it around the side, and it should fit your pan easily. Now don't skip this step, because this is the only way you're going to get this cake out of the pan. Go ahead and oil the bottom of the pan so the parchment paper doesn't slip around when you are pouring batter in. And then the first part of this cake is to put that fruit topping at the bottom. So I'm going to take my now slightly cooled cherries and just put them right into the cake pan on top of the oiled parchment paper. Now, the very best thing about this cake is that you can have so much fun with the fruit toppings. You can do whatever is in season or whatever you have canned up. I love to mix citrus in my fruits for this cake, and even some cinnamon if I'm feeling it. It is not fall. It is definitely summer, even though I have a jacket on, and it was cool this day, but not cold. So I stuck with a cherry lime topping, but you can do cranberries, you can do apples, pears, blueberries, peaches, you can do a whole bunch of other things. I give a huge list in the recipe below. After you have poured it into your cake pan, just set this aside. We are officially going to start the actual cake batter. You need 2 sticks of butter, you need a half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of brown sugar, and you are going to cream those together. Then you're going to need 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Then you're going to need 3 eggs, preferably at room temperature. Go ahead and add those to your butter and sugar mixture. Mix that until those eggs are mixed in well. After that, you are going to add the yogurt. You can use plain yogurt or vanilla yogurt. It really does not matter which one you use. I do not use any sort of flavored yogurt for this cake. I usually just stick with vanilla or plain, but they both taste the same no matter which one you use. Let that mix into your other wet ingredients, and then we are going to move on to the dry ingredients. Be sure to scrape down the bowl as needed while you are doing this. For the dry ingredients, you need 1 cup of flour. This is just all-purpose flour. Then you will need a teaspoon of salt. This is just fine sea salt. Then we will need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Now, cinnamon is optional if you don't like it, but it does make this cake taste really good, so I don't suggest skipping it. And then you just need a teaspoon of baking powder. You're going to put this into a sifter. and sift all these dry ingredients together. This is going to make sure that baking powder doesn't get clumpy and then you are biting into a chunk of baking powder, which is the worst. If you've ever made anything from scratch, you know that is the worst. So go ahead and sift all these dry ingredients together, and then we are just going to add them to the bowl to our wet ingredients. Then you're just going to mix on low until everything is just well combined. You don't need to knead this. We're not making bread. Just mix it until it's all combined. After this, take your cake pan with your fruit that's in it, that's hopefully cooled a little bit more down at this point. If you used canned fruit like I did, go ahead and just pour it into the cake pan. Now you are going to see some of the fruit shift and you are going to see some of the juice seep up the sides. That is totally okay. What you don't want to do is mix the batter in the fruit. We are trying to keep the fruit on top of the cake. Now you are going to want to preheat your oven before you start making the cake, which I think I forgot to mention, but we are going to bake this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 to 45 minutes until the toothpick comes clean. After that, let it cool on a wire rack for about an hour. You want it cool enough to touch. Then you're going to take your cake plate and put it on top of your cake pan and flip it over. It doesn't need to be completely cooled. It just needs to be cooled enough to touch. It can cool the rest of the way on the cake plate. Slowly lift it up. Like I said, that parchment paper is the only way you're going to get this cake out of the pan in one piece anyway. So gently lift up the cake pan, and that is that. You can go ahead and go around and clean up the edges. I usually just put whatever's on the edge right on top of the cake. And this is a very rustic, charming homemade cake, so there really is no decorating besides maybe putting a garnish of lemon balm or mint. Lemon balm holds up a little bit better than mint, by the way, if you're taking this to a party or anything, but it is ready to serve just like this. That is it. All the work is done before it's baked. But that's all there is to it. It really is not hard. The most tedious part is probably the fruit topping, but in the recipe below, I go through how to use different kinds of fruits and different forms of fruit, I guess you can say. Please check out the link below for the full recipe. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helps. I hope you guys bake this cake, and I will see you guys in the next video.